So I'm in Trader Rehab right now, so I figured I would do a video talking about the way I see Trader Rehab, how I use it, and maybe it gives you all some ideas. So what is my version of Trader Rehab? So my version of Trader Rehab is, probably different than some of you all's. A question out there is, do I stop trading for a set amount of time during Trader Rehab? Do I just say I'm going to take a week off? Or is it time to jump into the simulator and only sim trade during Trader Rehab? Another thing is, do I keep trading with the modified plan? Do I stay in real money and keep on trading, just modify the plan a little bit? The hard part about Trader Rehab is, if you have a bad day or a couple bad days, and then you put yourself in Trader Rehab, and then a whole bunch of good days come, you miss out on all the winning, you took all the losing, and then you decide to get back in the market, and then it's a bad day or a bad week again, so now you're drawing your account down even more, and then you put yourself back in Trader Rehab, and then you come back out. You stayed in Trader Rehab during more green days, and you come back into the live market and you have even more red and you blow up your account. So that's the risk when you go into a Trader Rehab type deal. So for me, Trader Rehab is a little bit different. I don't exit the market. I don't just go to the simulator. It all depends on what's going on. So let's talk about the details of what decisions to make to know how to play the Trader Rehab. All right, so before we even get into the details of Trader Rehab, for me is to have my Trader Rehab plan worked out before I ever start trading with live money. It's like being on a ship. If you don't have an escape plan that you know really, really well before the ship starts to sink or catches fire, if you don't have a plan of action, well, then you're most likely to exhibit inaction or action that's not thought out that might result in your demise, right? Your account blows up because you didn't plan this out. You're emotional. You're under high stress, and then you make bad decisions. But having the plan already laid out that when this happens and I go to Trader Rehab and this is the process, it makes it a lot easier for me. Now, in order for me to even be able to do something like Trader Rehab, I have to be able to journal and track my trades. But not just to evaluate my strategy, but I also need to evaluate my plan. And then I also need to evaluate myself, because maybe my strategy is doing good, but my plan is failing somewhere, so maybe I'm failing. Or maybe I'm failing, and that's called, what is the failure point? So one of the critical aspects of being able to utilize a Trader Rehab is a good journal and tracking my trades. So I need to track what's happening with my strategy, and I need to track my individual performance, because those two things are going to tell me a lot about what I need to do next. So by tracking it, like writing everything down, I'm able to collect data on what's happening, and I'm not just going to be thinking like, do I remember? Oh, did this happen? I don't want to try to remember something when I'm in an emotional, stressful situation. I want to have data to look at. When you have the data, it's like having your GPS. You get to look at your route. You can see that there's no detours, no traffic. You can monitor what's happening while you're on your way there. It just gives you a lot more confidence, and it frees up your brain to be able to work on other things and make better decisions about things that might pop up along your journey. So having that trade plan and journaling and all those different things, they all work together to help me be successful. Okay, so I have three different rehab plans for my trading. So my first rehab plan is a failure of my strategy. So once that is triggered, then I go into that rehab plan. Then I have the failure of my trade plan, and then I have account recovery, that rehab plan. So account recovery is basically this. If I have a short-term emotional, market, or technical failure that results in a catastrophic drawdown, and that catastrophic drawdown triggers a life support number, then I go into account recovery. Currently, that number is $4,000. If I break 4,000 and get into the 3,000 range, then I'm in Trader Rehab. Once Trader Rehab is triggered, I have another rehab number based on the same calculations I came up with to get to $4,000. That will then trigger the next segment of Trader Rehab, because for my Trader Rehab, I'm trading with real money still. So if I hit that next Trader Rehab number, then from there I go into one of the other ones. So if I start with account recovery, Trader Rehab number gets hit inside of that, then I'm going to go into a strategy or trade plan rehab setup. If I were trading in a strategy rehab or trade plan rehab, and then that number got hit, then I would immediately stop everything, play around in the sim, and go back to the drawing board, start from the beginning with a trade plan. So as long as I follow my rules and I follow my trading rehab plans, I should never blow up my live account. I may have a bad go, I may have a big drawdown, but I should never blow it up. if you know how to make a proper trade plan, a proper strategy, and have a proper rehab recovery plan, it's a lot easier to manage the emotional side of trading, the stress of it, and the account, and keep a live account active. So then there's the question of, if a trader rehab plan can recover the account, why not just use that as a trade plan? Like, why not just trade that as a normal plan? And the reason is, for me, my trader rehab plan is a very slow, conservative, protective growth of the account. And I could do that. And I could, spend a year doubling this account. But right now I want to be more aggressive, and I want to double this account every couple months if I can. So a more aggressive trade plan, has more opportunity to get me in trouble. So I need to have that trader rehab plan to protect my account if I start to get in trouble with the aggressive plan that I have currently. So that's pretty much why that is the way it is. So once I have my trader rehab plans all taken care of, like I got them all detailed out, the next thing I need to do is identify when each rehab plan will get triggered. So for an account balance level, that would fall under the account recovery area. So my account balance level falls below 4,000, account recovery goes into effect. If there's a percentage drop in my strategy success, then I could see a strategy failure. So I'm tracking my strategy over a 90-day period, and if I start to see that drop below a threshold that's not acceptable to me, which is basically 70% success, then I have problems brewing and I need to relook at my strategy, go into strategy rehab. If I'm having too many mistakes over 5 days or more, and I'm failing to meet my trade plan obligations, so basically if my trade plan says I need to take every available trade, but then I'm only finding myself trading on Monday and Wednesday and I'm not trading the rest of the week, that's a trade plan failure. And then I need to go into a trade plan rehab and start from there. So another key aspect of having a rehab trade plan is, when do I get out of the rehab and go back into my normal trade plan? And what is that process? So for me, when I get back to whatever the details are, so in this case for account recovery is what I'm going into right now. Once I get back above $5,000, then I'll be okay to go back into my normal trade plan. But I'm going to do an evaluation before I go back into that trade plan. Make sure everything's still good. Make sure I don't need to adjust anything. Same thing with the strategy. I'm just going to do a little overview evaluation before I jump back in. Okay, so once that thing happens that triggers my rehab plan, I have an evaluation before I start my rehab. And it's the same for all three plans. Before I go into that rehab plan, I want to reflect on a few things, ask myself a bunch of questions just to make sure that I'm going into the right plan. And maybe it's a combination of plans that I need, not actually just the one. So in this case, I'm going into account recovery, but maybe I got myself into that position because of a strategy failure or a trade plan failure also. Just the account recovery happened to hit before those other things hit. So I'm going to ask myself these questions, and then that'll help me better understand for sure what trade plan, what rehab plan I'm going to go into, or will there be a combination? So the first thing I need to do is reflect on my performance. The next thing that I need to do is review what got me into rehab. Look at the charts, look at what I did, decisions, all the different stuff. Was it my strategy? Well, when I did this review, I looked back. Had I traded my strategy and had I traded my plan, I actually would have been green on both of those days once I looked at the entire day. But I didn't. And as a result, you saw what happened. So the question is, was it me? Yes. It was definitely me those 2 days. Was it a technical glitch? Because if it was a technical glitch, maybe it has nothing to do with any of these rehab plans. How long has this failure been happening? So, because that reflects on me and also possibly on the trade plan. Review my trade plans for rehab. So I go back through my rehab plan and look at them, dust them off, if you will. And just kind of look at it. Is it still relevant? Has anything changed? Do I need to address anything? Are we still good to go? And then, do I need to adjust my normal strategy or plan as a result of what comes out of this? So all questions to ask myself. Okay, so after I've asked myself all my questions I needed to ask, reviewed everything, I've chosen the account recovery plan. And as a part of that plan, I'm only going to trade the YM and the minis. I'm not going to trade any of the other tickers in the minis, just the one. Over in the micros, I'm going to trade GC and NQ. I'm only going to take the highest probability setups. And if that means I only take 3 trades in that week, then I only take 3 trades in that week. I want that 90% success on those trades to make sure I can start growing this account back and also developing confidence back into my trading. Because confidence is a pretty key thing in decision making, especially when stress is high. So I need to build up that confidence, and that's why I want the highest probability trades and look to have like a 90% success rate. So I'm not going to focus on making content while I'm talking and trading, because part of my problem is me making mistakes. And I'm looking at, all the different charts. I got different monitors. I'm trying to manage my OSB and record and make sure I'm getting out the relevant information as the trade is happening. And sometimes I miss entries and exits because I want to put the information out there so you can hear it and then see it, like all these things. Because my stuff's not voiceover. What you're hearing is happening as it's happening. And I don't want to keep it that way. But right now I need to take a break from that because I've been making quite a few mistakes and when my focus has been split and I'm trying to juggle 3 tickers and things are moving fast. So I'm not going to juggle trades either as part of this trade rehab. I'm not, if YM, NQ, and GC are all setting up at the same time, I'm just going to focus on the YM and that's it. But if their setups are separate, then I'll also trade those other 2 in the micros. So then I'm going to reevaluate my situation. If I get below $2,000 in this account recovery plan, then I'll have to reevaluate. Most likely it'll be a trade plan or a strategy remake if I get below there. And once I get above $5,000, then I'll reevaluate to go back into my normal trade plan and continue trading from there. And once I can get back into my normal setup, I'll start producing my content with me talking about the trades again. I'll start doing all that again, and then we'll see what happens. Do I start failing again? And then we'll have to reevaluate when that time comes. My rehab plan is set up just like my trade plan. So all the details, all the same stuff. It's just a more strict plan to limit exposure and then to develop confidence and those kind of things going forward. Okay, so that's my rehab trade plan in a nutshell. Going into account recovery, I'll keep you updated.